everyone. Welcome to Custom Build Homes podcast. We are joined today by Hester McQueen. Hester, how's it going?
Good, thank you.
Good stuff. And Rhys Denbigh. I said that right, Denbigh.
Yep, well done.
Yep, thank you. From Facit Homes. Rhys, tell us a little bit about what you do at Facit Homes.
Well, we kind of describe ourselves as a home manufacturer, which is a bit of not a very common term, but kind of just like you buy a car from someone like BMW, who is a car manufacturer, you'd come to us and essentially buy a home because we do everything from start to finish. So we are a team of sort of architects, product designers, engineers, contract managers, all sort of within one team who can do everything from the architectural design through planning, and then we go on and deliver a completed home for our customers. So yeah, we're kind of a one-stop shop for creating your own bespoke home.
Perfect. And you're based in central London. How was lockdown in London? And tell me honestly, did you rattle your motorbike through the empty streets?
It was like a zombie movie, yeah, to be honest. I cycled around. I left the motorbike at home and cycled around the sort of the main streets down through Oxford Street and Regent Street, and was the only person in the middle of the city at one point. It was bizarre, very bizarre for a few weeks, and sort of going for a run and not seeing anyone anywhere was strange. But it's very different now. You know, a few months on now, there's a lot more people around. But yeah, for a month or so, it was like living in some sort of film. And
there'll be whole, people live their entire lives in London that have never seen that, and you guys have just got it's just an empty, massive city. So. Yeah,
it was strange. So the centre of town, around the sort of Oxford Circus and those places, is still super, super quiet because, things have only really just opened up and all the offices are kind of shut. So it's still a bit spooky, but it's starting to feel a bit more like there's human life here now, which is good.
Yeah, and we've been working from home since sort of the start of March, and we can't get into our offices for quite a while. Hester is absolutely loving it because she doesn't actually need to speak to us too often. But how was home working for you? Were you home working?
Yeah, the whole team were. So we're sort of more aligned with a tech company than with a construction company as a studio. We use a lot of technology for the way we design and build our houses. So for us, it was quite a simple step to work remotely. We manage our sites remotely from the studio, although we have obviously the team on site doing some work. It's driven by the guys in the studio using digital remote tools. So for us, it was not a big leap. We missed the collaboration, the impromptu meetings, the design reviews, those sort of things. They're a bit more challenging over video calls and things. But, even with me talking to customers, existing customers and potential new customers at points, it's been fine over video call. It's been pretty seamless. So we found it quite easy. And I think a lot of people enjoyed not having the commute in the morning, not getting on the tube. So we've still got about half our team are working at home, and the ones that can walk or cycle into the studio are now sort of in a socially distant studio environment.
Yeah, good stuff. Right, Hester, should we crack on?
Yeah. Good. And so, Rhys, can you tell us a bit about Facit Homes?
Yeah, where do I start? It was born out of a sort of frustration with traditional construction. Designers designing amazing homes in 3 dimensions in computer models, and then handing it over to a builder who would then turn it into a very analog process of tape measures, hacksaws, bricks, all sort of stuff. So the Bruce who founded the company wanted to find a way of taking the digital information he was using to design the home to actually then make it. So it becomes more of a product that's manufactured rather than handmade on site. So as I said before, we kind of align ourselves with the tech companies. We're using and leveraging technology where we can to manufacture the homes that we design and make it a very seamless process from the vision of the architect through to the actual completion of the home, and also leveraging all the benefits of digital manufacturing, quality, speed, efficiencies, all those things that we expect from products that we use, our bikes, our phones, our cars, and taking it into house building, which is still a relatively primitive kind of industry in the way things are done. So yeah, that's kind of where the company sort of came from, and now we're commissioned by private clients to design and build them a complete home. And so it's It's quite a unique offering. There are other companies in this sphere, but most of them come from more of a construction background rather than from a design background, whereas we're coming at from the design side and solving the challenges of construction from that end, whereas a lot of companies that work in this sphere are timber frame companies or construction companies who then try to push themselves into more the design side of things. So we come from a slightly different angle, have a different take on how things should be done. We kind of dance to our own tune in some ways.
Yes. Interestingly, I've sort of known about Facet for 3 and a half years. And, when I sent the email earlier in the week, I described it as modular housing, which, you came back and said that quite a lot of people at the shows come up and ask whether it's modular. What is different, sort of fundamentally different about Facet's system and the way that you manufacture than, for example, a Scott frame value therm system that's created in their factory? What is it? What is the key differences, and therefore what are the benefits of doing it in terms of specification or design choice?
I think that the kind of key word there is factory. We don't have a factory, and when I think about modular build, I think of sort of prefabricated units that are made in a factory. Perhaps completely finished inside and out, delivered to the site and put together to form a whole. That's how I think of modules are sort of standard units that go together to create something that's more complex. That's kind of the definition of it, which is great. It's a way of doing it. It's a modern way of constructing buildings. For me, modular feels like standardization, and something we are not a part of is standardizing our product. So we developed a system where we can manufacture the buildings. We get the same quality that you get from a modular build, which has been done in the factory, but we manufacture all the components of the building in different places. So we manufacture our frame, which we call the Facet chassis, which is smaller components. We have the windows manufactured. We have various components of the building manufactured, and then we take them to site and assemble them like a Lego kit, effectively. So we're getting the benefits of all that technology, but we're not having to standardize things, which is what a sort of factory production line wants to do. It wants to spit out the same things over and over again, ideally. That's how they get efficiencies out of it. Whereas we just sort of dip into the technologies we want to use that benefit us and benefit our homes, bring them to site and put them together. So we're kind of taking the factory to the building site. And that's our approach to it. It means our design, we can be much more flexible with our design because we're not worried about fitting in what we design to what a factory can produce. We design what we want and then we find a way of producing it. So it's coming from that design angle rather than from a purely production angle. I think all sort of factory fabrication is a great thing for homes. I think the quality and the performance and the speed is great, but we just have a different take on things and think our approach is offering something different to the market and to the table, which can sit alongside modular production or even, on-site traditional building. They can all sit together and sort of help to provide homes.
Yeah. So just on the factory thing, is there any cutting of wood or changing of sizes on site, or is it delivered in, like you say, in parts, and therefore where does it get cut?
Yeah, so in theory, we design so we talk about the chassis, which is our timber structure, effectively, our timber frame that we've developed. It's designed in a 3D computer model. So we design the homes we want, and then the chassis can then be modelled to fit the form of the home we've designed. It's very flexible because it's smaller parts, like little Lego blocks rather than big panels. That information is then taken off onto a CNC machine, and sheets of plywood are cut into the components. So we have a sort of flat pack system where we cut them out and then we assemble together into three-dimensional parts, which then become the sort of building blocks of the home. And they're then delivered to site and assembled. So in theory, it's like an Airfix kit. Every single part has been designed, produced, and then it's just someone on site puts it together. So in theory, everything comes to site and gets put together in one go, and then that's just superstructures then up. In reality, we have carpenters on site who are making small adjustments. The ground is never perfect, so there's always little bits of tolerance we have to worry about. But if we were doing it on a flat, completely flat piece of ground somewhere with no deviations, it should all go together absolutely millimetre perfect. Every time we do it, we get slightly better. So the models we produce are very complex. Our buildings are not just boxes, they have lots of geometry going on. And so inevitably there are hundreds and hundreds of components for every building, and so inevitably one or two might be slightly out. That's the nature of the beast, but we're getting better and better and better at every time we do it. And so we have carpenters on site to sort anything that needs doing. But in general, it's incredibly accurate, which is the point of what we do. We've designed it in a computer model. We make it exactly how we've designed it. It goes together perfectly, and that's the ethos of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that Facit Homes are one of the companies in our traveling circus within the custom and self-build that when you look at the end product, you go, wow, that is why people want to design and create their own homes. I'm not trying to talk sort of disparagingly about others, but you do kind of, you can still get sort of pushed down a pattern book kind of set of options, and then almost sold the idea of something being bespoke that quite frankly isn't that bespoke. But I always feel that when I look at Facet, I go, I'd like one of them if I had bought cash. But just quickly, last sort of thing on the construction. I presume local contractors can provide your on-site, or do you have your own teams that go on-site? Because is it something that they're not familiar with, or do you have to train local contractors, or?
It's a bit of a mix when it comes to actual delivery. So we have a core site team that we employ directly, and sometimes it's people we know, and sometimes it's new people. So we're lucky. We built up a core team. Although we're based in London, we work all across England. Mostly it is in the south at the moment, but we've built up a core team of carpenters that we've worked with. We've got some guys in the current project. It's their third build with us, so they're employed by us to do all the stuff on site. And assembling the chassis is relatively straightforward. We've got all the instructions. It's like a big kit, so a carpenter that has some skills can put it together quite easily. But so we're lucky. We've built up a team of people that we're working with across our sites now who are familiar with what we do. We employ a site agent for each site who is a trained architect. So rather than relying on the construction industry and a sort of construction site manager, we insert an architect in site who is our eyes and ears for the studio and is making sure the design information is being correctly relayed to the on-site team. And it's been a real game changer for us to have someone who is defending the design intent on site, who's not allowing things to be done in the way they want to do it. It's done in the way Facet wants it done. And that's been really important for us to have that person who has that understanding of the design and the architecture on site to make sure it happens properly. They don't do anything on the tools. They're not manually involved, but they're ensuring that everything's being done correctly and communicating with the studio with any queries or questions. And so then the carpenter team put the chassis up. They'll put the cladding on. They'll do all the basic building work that we're doing is done by our core team of carpenters, and then we'll have specialist subcontractors coming in for things like electrics, plumbing, roofing if it's specialist. And so it's sort of a mixture of our own team and specialist subcontractors to deliver the project. But the key thing is it's all driven by the studio and by the 3D model we've created. It's all coming from the technology we use rather than just a very traditional build process.
And they're turnkey houses. Are they kitchens, bathrooms that, I presume that your client can choose what they want, but that's all catered in terms of installation.
Yeah, so most of our projects are full turnkey, so we're doing everything up to the doorbell. We are currently working on our first project, which we call an assisted self-finish, it's kind of like a shell and core, but a little bit more. We're doing up to first fix and plasterboard on the walls, and then the customer's taking it on to do all the internal fit out. So everything you sort of see and touch, they will manage the installation of. We offer it as a service, and we remain on hand as architects to oversee and to assist them with it, but it's their responsibility to find people to come and lay the floors, put the bathrooms in, so they can put a bit of their own time and effort in and save some costs. What we really don't want to see is the project not being delivered to the standard we all expect it to be. So that's why we remain on hand to make sure that they don't have any problems. We want to de-risk projects for customers. We've all watched Grand Designs. We've all seen how it fails at the end, time and time again. We want to make sure we're there to help them through to the finish and get the result that they want and that they expected and that we're proud of as well. So it's been good. So this is the first one we've really done is currently on site. So we'll be handing over the completed structure in about 4 months or so for the customer to then finish off. So it'll be good to see how it goes. Yeah.
Interesting that you're doing the self-finish. We're going down that route as well. We've got few customizable homes that we've put together, and we're doing a site in Edinburgh where we're going up to the end of first fix. So it sounds pretty similar to you, but I don't know if you're doing the M&E part. I presume you are.
Yeah, we're doing all the technical complex stuff we're doing. It's the stuff that people feel comfortable with. If you're doing a renovation project, you'd be happy tearing out a kitchen and getting a new one put in. Yeah, this is similar, except that you're dealing with a nice blank canvas, and we've already designed the kitchen for you. So
clean renovations are what every renovator would like.
Yes,
they don't usually come with old buildings and whatnot. It's good to hear that you're offering that. I think in the sector that we work in the kind of space that we're keen to promote, obviously individuality is important, the ability to choose what they want. But we all know that the more bespoke anything is, the more costly it is. So it's trying to balance being able to promote people to get a process where they get what they want, but also that they can afford. And I do think that the way you've described it, anything that they can touch and feel comfortable with, if they can put that in themselves, maybe get a little bit of sweat equity out of it, I think it's a good thing.
There's still a very important part of it is ensuring the specification is tight while we're still working the project, because everyone thinks a tap's a tap, but actually there are lots of different types of taps. You can have them in different places, wall mounted, sink mounted. All these things need to be thought through so that you have the services going to the right place and that everything's coordinated. So that's why we still go through the specification with the customer, even if we're not going to be fitting it. As a good architect would, is get all that specification sorted with them. Even if it's not the exact fitting, we know it's going to be a wall-mounted tap, so we'll make sure everything's in the right place for that. And that level of coordination will make the project much less risky once they take it over, because they know what they're doing. I think that our fear initially was that we would hand it over and they would botch it because they didn't know what the hell was going on. But we've got ourselves to a level where we're getting everything coordinated, ready for them to do, and they understand what they need to do. And so that the hope is then it will be a fairly seamless process for them to deliver the end of the project.
Perfect. Good stuff. Well, before we get on to grand designs, I know that Hester wants to get on to grand designs. I just want to ask you quickly, like I said before, I think that you see a Facet home and really you get the wow factor in terms of design. So you saying that you come from a design background first into manufacturing rather than the other way around, which I do think is the sort of the current crop of package companies, if you like, are coming from that construction background, and therefore maybe you do get that pattern book kind of effect in their designs. Can Facet build someone else's design? If someone came to you with a design, or does it need to be your own? No,
we absolutely can, and we are. The two projects we've got on site at the moment were designed by other architects, and they got taken through planning by other architects, and then the customers were looking for someone to build it. And it's not our normal route. We are designers by heart, so we want to be designing the homes that we build, and we offer a lot of value in that pre-planning process. Not only from our creative point of view, but we cost the buildings before we go in for planning. We use all the information from our computer model to cost it accurately. And what I found in the last few years is a lot of people get planning for homes they can't afford to build. They get carried away with the design process, they get through planning, they then try and work out how to build it, and it's way beyond what they can afford to pay. So we head that off by costing before planning. But as I say, we've taken on projects by the architects. In theory, we can build anything, but we have a set of core components and core products that we use to control the cost of the building and to ensure the quality of it. So sometimes I'll be sent plans and I'll say, we could do it, but it's going to be twice our normal budget. It's way beyond what we normally do. Or there could be things that we just wouldn't really want to build, more traditional style homes. It's not really where we're at. But if it kind of fits within a fairly large, broad spectrum of things that we can build, then yeah, we'll take it on and say we're successfully building 2 homes at the moment that were designed by their architects. They're beautiful designs. We're proud to be building them. We had to make a few small tweaks from a cost point of view more than anything, rather than a design point of view, to balance it for the customer. But yeah, it's something I want to, potentially the company's growing. It's an avenue we can explore, partnering with architects. A lot of architects out there are designing great homes, but maybe don't have the contractors to deliver them that they want. So we could offer a service to those people and help deliver the homes that they're designing. So it's something for the future we'd like to maybe talk about more.
Perfect. Right, Hester, Grand Designs.
So how was the experience of doing a Grand Designs project, and were you worried about your brand during the process?
I mean, it predates me joining Facit Homes. It was back in about 2010, 2011, I think, that it was filmed and broadcast in about 2012. And I joined the business in about 2016. But I remember when I was approached by Bruce, founder of the company, about it, I remembered that episode from 4 years before. And I've seen hundreds of episodes of Grand Designs, as we all have. And there are a few that stick in your mind. And it was always one. It was surreal to kind of meet the guy from the telly. Obviously, I've met Kevin since as well. It's much more interesting. But it was something that always stuck in my mind because it was so unique. And so for me, it was a selling point for the business. You know, it was one of those really great shows that I say stuck in your mind. It's still something people talk about. If we do an exhibition, people still come and point at the house and say, "Well, that was on Grand Designs." And bear in mind, it was 8 years ago. It's remarkable people remember it, and they remember the whole process. And the company has evolved a lot since then, but the ethos is still the same. And so it's still a great representation of who we are and what we do. So I think as far as it goes, it's been nothing but positive for the business. You know, it still gets repeated occasionally, and we get a bunch of inquiries at the back of it. And actually, the most interestingly, it's been put on Netflix in America recently. They've obviously bought the rights to Grand Designs, and we're flooded with inquiries from people in America who want to build Facit Homes. We're not quite ready for it yet, but you know, don't never say never. But again, it shows the reach of it and how powerful it can be for the brand that people love it still 8 years later. So yeah, it's been nothing but good for us, I'd say. The only thing with it was Grand Design shows need a bit of peril. You know, the cliffhanger at the end of the just for the adverts, and with our builds, there wasn't a lot of problems. You know, they had to really beef up some of the small things that happened to make them seem like a bit of a drama. And they've approached, the production company approached us a few times since and sort of said, "Have you got any projects?" And we kind of say, "Well, you'd come and film us building a house and it would just be handed over and everyone would be happy." So it would be a pretty boring show, to be honest. I mean, I'd love us to be on it again, but I just don't think it will make great TV because it would just be a nice house build being done and happy customers at the end.
We got approached about a site. You know, they did the Grand Designs Street at Graven Hill. We got approached by them sort of about a month before lockdown, saying, you know, we'd like to do the show on one of the sites that you're enabling up north. And you know, I said, "Listen, you know, we're trying to grow a business here where the process is easy, simple, fun, transparent. The last thing I need right now is, you know, a nation of, you know, prospective customers and enthusiasts, you know, being shown something that is, you know, full of fights and divorces and arguments and spiraling costs." And they're like, "Oh, but you know, it kind of the benefits outweigh that." And you know, I'm skeptical of it, perhaps just in the, you know, at the stage we are at as a business, sort of pinning ourselves to a development of individual homes. But yeah, we were just, you know, we were talking through what we were going to ask you, and just that whole idea of balancing the, you know, how the production company would try to sort of shape the viewing so that there is a bit of drama in there, and whether that...
Yeah, I think they always need to create a bit of narrative to it. So there is a risk there for sure, but you know, I think at the time Bruce family believed in what he was doing, and it worked out really, really well. I say it's been a great platform to show off what we do. But yeah, there's definitely a risk. I've actually got some friends who are self-building down in the south of England who've just been sort of given the green light by the production team. So they've started filming with them, and they met Kevin last week on site. It'd be quite interesting to see how they get on with it all. They're doing a proper self-build. They're on site with their hands in the dirt sort of thing. So it'd be nice to see how they get on with it.
Yeah, good stuff. Right. Speaking of, we talked about Graven Hill. You're working on Graven Hill, aren't you? You've got 2 houses there?
We've completed 2 homes on there, yeah.
How was that?
It's been great. Yeah, brilliant. I mean, I think we thought when it first launched a few years ago, it was going to be kind of a revolution coming. You know, there was a lot promised with it, a lot of homes to be built, and it's definitely been challenging for them, I think, and it's been a bit slower than they thought it would be. And but they're pioneering something here, which is amazing. But on a sort of project basis, it was great. The customers picked their plots. We had a real set of parameters around what we could design. It was nice and straightforward. Still lots of scope for interesting architecture. Delivery side, it was straightforward to get on site and do all that sort of stuff. It was basically a building site within a big building site. So it made life easier than having sort of neighbours next door complaining about everything. All your neighbours were building, so everyone was in it together. And I think they're building an amazing community. Our first project was completed a year ago. I can't believe it. We actually handed over a year ago to them. And they're loving life down there. It's transformed their lives living down there. There's a real community spirit. We finished our second home start of this year, I think. And so they're all nice and settled in now as well. But we think it's brilliant. And, the sooner they can release more plots, the better for us, because we want to, build more homes there for people. Yeah. And I know it's been something a lot of councils have been looking at. I know the MD at Graven Hill has been inundated with people asking her about the process and how they brought it forward. So our hope is these things will start popping up all over the country in the next sort of 5 years or so. And obviously the work you guys are doing to bring forward sites as well. It's exciting for us because the biggest challenge we have is biggest challenge our customers have is finding the land to build on. It's the classic story of, I want to build a home, but there's nowhere for me to build it. Yeah. The more custom build sites are out there, the more we can make great homes for people. So we're all for it. We're very supportive of it. We think Graven Hill's, a fantastic scheme.
Yeah. So for those who aren't aware of Graven Hill, probably should have teed this up before I asked the question, but it's a custom build development site in Bicester in Oxfordshire. 1,900 service plots over various phases. Purchasers can choose their plot. There is a set of design parameters attached to each one within a plot passport. And you can design your house within those parameters of maximum height, maximum width, various material choices. And then you can go and commission your own construction and design teams to support you through the process. So just on that, as I was talking out loud there, I realised that Graven Hill is a little bit different to just the plot. They provide the foundation package. Is that an issue for sort of your home manufacturing model rather than a traditional, or was it something that was quite easily passed across?
To us, the first time it was a little bit challenging because we wanted to specify a certain foundation system, and obviously Graven Hill have employed a firm to do all the groundworks who were a little bit reluctant to change from what they wanted to do. So some negotiation went on, but in the end, we helped design it. We made sure it was spec to what we wanted. They delivered it. It worked in the end. It was a bit painful the first time around. The second time around, we all knew what we were doing, so it was really, really straightforward. These are the challenges that no one can really foresee when you start. You think, okay, it'll be straightforward, we'll do the foundations, but then some of our customers comes along and says, well, we want to do something a bit different, and they have to, recalibrate themselves. But it all felt very collaborative. Everyone was in it for the right reasons. Everyone wanted the same result. We were all pushing in the same direction. It wasn't that there was anyone trying to be difficult. It was just a bit of negotiation, really. And in the end, it worked out fine. They delivered the foundation as we wanted it. We built the superstructure. It all worked really well. I think the main thing I felt from it was that it was collaborative. It wasn't a commercial deal. People weren't trying to get one over on the other person in some way. Everyone wanted the house to be built. So that was very positive. The whole schemes around creating community, creating homes. There was challenges, but it worked out well in the end.
Perfect. All right, plans for the future, Hester?
Yeah, so our final question for you, Rhys, is what's the plans for the future?
Build more homes. We've sort of been steadily growing for the last 4 or 5 years. We've evolved our product. We've sort of refined everything we do. We've grown our customers. We've done a lot more homes in the last years than previously, but we're now in a really good position to accelerate that growth. And the custom build market becoming more mature will open up more opportunities to us. So we're now set for some more significant growth over the next few years, which is really exciting because we want to. Our vision is sort of to build a better future, one home at a time, we say. So we want to be building more homes. That's all we want to be doing. And so the more opportunity there is for people to do that, the better it is for us. We're really keen to be involved in some multiple homes schemes. We've primarily been doing individual houses for private clients, but we've now started talking to some developers and some landowners about multi-home schemes. And it's something where we can really bring some efficiencies of our process and create really high quality homes at a good price, at good value. So that's a bit of a focus, is trying to find the right opportunity for us to work on a multi-home scheme. But yeah, we're really excited about the next few years and the opportunities that are there for us. The demand is growing. There's no doubt about that. There's legislation in place. There's custom build schemes coming online, and we're ready there to deliver the homes when people want them. So it feels like a good place to be, really.
Yeah. I mean, talk about demand. Our demand's gone through the roof on the registers, because there's nothing like an acid test for a house when you've got to be locked in it for 12 weeks. And, I think that there has been a number of people who probably just haven't had the time, or just hasn't gone through their thought process as, is my house performing for me, when I need it to?
Yeah.
I think too many houses didn't pass that test. So, I know, you mentioned at the start that the sort of pandemic period was quite simple for you to kind of pick up and work from home, and there's been some benefits of it. I think one of the biggest benefits of for people in the custom and self-build sector will be, there's a whole load of prospective custom and self-builders now that otherwise wouldn't have even entertained it, because they now understand what their house needs to be and needs to sort of provide them with going forward. And for me, I think there will be elements of lockdown that will remain in, maybe not in its totality, but in periods. There will be periods of home schooling. There will be periods of exercising at home, having more people in the household during the day, flexible working, home working. And, the reality is our sort of core new build housing stock, but they're not considerations for developers. It is quite simply, how many bedrooms does it have, and what's its total size, and then how does that affect my bottom line? And I think we have to move away from that. And companies like yourself, who can make the design, the manufacturing process efficient, there's enough input for the customer. I think it's something that a lot of people will want to engage with. So hopefully that happens.
I got an email from our first customer at Graven Hill just during the lockdown with about something. He said, I can't tell you how lucky we are to have this home on this plot during this time. That their family was really comfortable. They're in a lovely home in a lovely setting with all the space they needed. We did a home office for them. They had a separate sort of playroom for the kids, and I think they felt how lucky they were to be there in something that had been designed with their family in mind. And there was I sat at my kitchen table on a wooden chair trying to work in a flat in central London, which is just not set up for it. So yeah, I totally agree. And it's a lot of inquiries I've had this month since we've been back up and running have been around people saying, I want to sort of plan for the future, and that's why I'm looking into building my own home. So I think you're right. It's going to mobilise people to want to do this, which is it's good for us, good for them as well.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for coming on, Rhys.
Pleasure.
Have you enjoyed it?
Yeah, it's my first time, Tom. So yeah, it's been great.
Me too. Do you know what though? Right, another quick question on lockdown. I don't know how you do this long hair thing, because every day I look more like a Lego man, and it becomes harder and harder every morning to get Zoom ready.
My hair now comes down beneath my shoulders, so I just tie it back. I've been quite lucky actually that I haven't had to worry about it, because I just yours is looking interesting, I've got to say.
I look like I could take it off at night and put it back on right, thanks a lot.
Pleasure.
Hope you have a good day, and keep in touch.
Yeah, cheers guys, thanks a lot.
Bye.
Bye.